Okay, so the 1.5 BMC has been taken out of the Cone Warrior and has gone into the workshop. You can see here we've taken the gearbox off. The gearbox was the main problem with water ingress, and I'll show you that shortly. Okay, it doesn't look too bad in its wholeness as it's dumped on the bench, but as we start to take it apart you'll see that it does have some issues. Okay, another shot of it before dismantling. So that's the bell housing off. There's been water in there, it's only fresh, but clearly that main bearing there and bush are, well, they're not as old as the boat because it's had new liners put in it, but I would say they're probably 25-30 years old, so they needed doing. Just see the gearbox access hole there, and at the beginning of the gremlins, so the fresh water's got in there and it's completely mangled up the inside. There's the top of the control valve on the gearbox. You can see starting to look a bit the worse for wear. So there is the inside of the gearbox. It's in the two clutch mechanisms. I'm not going to explain to you how a hydraulic box works, but you can see that that's not ideal, and the previous owners were intending to try and get that going by just putting some more oil in, but I don't think that was going to work very well here. There's the bottom of the gearbox, so not too bad in there. That's prior to cleaning. Another shot of the inside of the cogs there. Output shaft, not too bad, not too bad. We're just waiting on the bearing and oil seal for that at the moment. Inside of the gearbox you can see there's no real pitting on the cast iron or anything like that, so we got it just in time, I think. Okay, bell housing's off now and all the ancillary parts. Rocker cover off, starting to get inside now. Not too bad under the rocker cover. In actual fact, the engine, as you see from the bottom of the sump in a minute, it's got water in it, but it would have probably started, but who knows what damage we would have done by starting it. So there's the front, side, so the sump's off now, can't see anything at the moment. Starting to take all the bits off that are around it. Manifold's off now, and whip the head off, so you can see it's been jumping across some big nasty black oily patches there, so the head gasket obviously having some issues. Some rust there as well, so the water finding its way across the headway. Fortunately it's a heat exchange one, so the only water would have been fresh or water with antifreeze in, so there's no lasting damage there, I can assure you. You'll see the head again in a minute. So there it is from a different angle, just before all the pumps and pulleys come off. Take the inject pump on that side. The inject pump doesn't look too bad. I'm led to believe it's now operational. There's the sump, delightful stuff, look, but there's not any emulsification in there. It hasn't had an oil change in a long time. Black and horrible, but it managed to keep the fresh water out by the looks of it. There's the filter in the bottom of the sump. Some nice goo dripping off that. And that's what it looked like when it's drained down, so no emulsification. Looks like it did maintain its oil integrity, but obviously not good, as you can see. There she is after a clean up, so that's the bottom of the block. We can see it's come up nice. No damage to worry about there at all. And just starting to think about putting it back together again now, so the crank's all cleaned up. Reusing the same shells, nothing wrong with the shells. It looks like it probably had a rebuild 25-30 years ago, because it's got oversized pistons and new liners in there, so presumably in the past someone heat seized it and had it re-engineered, but that may have been at the point of installation. They may have sleeved it when they marinized it. So there she is, so you can see the head, good old cast iron, aluminium blocks. Well, let you draw your own conclusions on those, but nothing really wrong with that. So that's cleaned up a treat. Looking down the barrel there, you can see very little wear. Well, you can't see any wear, but run your finger down there, it's pretty good. And there's the access holes for the push rods, so the plates are off there. Nothing wrong with the plates, quite often they're pitted or have holes in them or whatever, but it's pretty good in this engine's case. And there's all the bits cleaned up, so you can see the clutch assembly from the gearbox, good, shells, good, piston rings, good, main output drive shaft from the gearbox, good, all of the timing chains and cogs have been replaced as well, bell housings and ancillary pieces of metalwork all cleaned up nice. That's what the head looked like when it first came off. Not a pretty sight, but looks a lot better once it's cleaned up. There it is, kind of in the cleaning well, just before it goes off for a good old wash. And it's amazing how they come back as well. So just squeezing one of the pistons in there on the reassembly. Starting to look quite handsome, look, so torquing up all the bolts now. Another view of the bottom of the block. And those things down the right hand side, they're core plugs. One of the core plugs are gone, don't know why. Just a hole in it, but so it's had new core plugs put in all the way across every hole. Bell housings, obviously can't get at the bits inside, so we have to spray those prior to spraying the other parts, but they've cleaned up lovely. All the other bits in the cleaning bath come up as good as new. And there's the final assembly at the bottom of the block. So the cranks all bolted in there, all the bolts are torqued up to the right positions. That's not even the same engine, I don't know how that got in there. You can see there's 4 valves per cylinder, and we definitely don't have that one of those on a BMC 1.5. Okay, there's a gasket set, reasonably priced actually for an engine that's so old. New timing chain tensioner, cogs, etc. No point in skimping on those, although could have used the old ones, but it's not wise, I don't think. Okay, covers go on, so timing chain covers, just making sure we've got top dead centre in the right place and so on. There's that grubby old filter that we saw earlier, looking a lot healthier for itself now. I wonder what that was for a while. I photographed that, couldn't remember. It's the output RPM drive for the rev counter on the bottom of the crankcase. So that's what that is. Bell housing looking nice. So nice, we took 2 photographs. Flywheel goes back on, that was as clean as a whistle. That's just what happens on the bench overnight when you've got diesel clean cast iron, but can't be helped, it's always going to go red like that. Another shot of before the sump goes back on again. Now that looks a bit funny, doesn't it, but actually that sump has been professionally done, because what they do is they cover it in fiberglass, glass reinforced plastic, to stop the sump rusting away, because it's always going to get splashed from the bilge and everything. So it actually looks like a bodge up, but it's far from it. It's an integral part that stops it rusting, and you can see that well, that's been in that boat for probably close to 50 years, and you can see no evidence of rusting on the bottom there, so that's good. New lift pump gone on, see the covers for the push rods again. Head reassembly, so we're starting to get somewhere when the head starts to go back on again. So head's on, all the running gear in, push rods all got the right clearances and so on, injector pump cleaned up, heater control relay, heaters are back in, got all the cork gaskets and so on in place. Side plates are on now, so no oil can come out of those. Injector lines on. We've got the fuel pump, the fuel filter connected to the fuel pump. Another shot from a slightly different angle, and we plumbed in lift pump into the main fuel filter, and that's it. That's progress so far. So gearbox, we're just waiting for a few components to come in. The engine, we're going to start it before we spray the outside. We'll just mask off and then spray, but there's not really much point in doing it until we know everything's okay. But it's coming along an absolute treat, and really glad I took it out the boat. Hope to start thinking about putting that in the first week of December, which is about 2 weeks from now. So hopefully I'll get that back and we can forklift that in and get back to a running boat, but with a brand new engine, as it were. So good old BMC. Okay, bye for now.